Fight on!
What's up? Welcome back to Top Tier Arcade. My name is Steve, and you're back with me in the apartment. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Double Dragon the Arcade Part 4, The Memories. Yes, I'm going to be bringing you back to 1987, and the first time I was introduced to Double Dragon. Let's get right to it. It was 1987. My parents moved to a little north of Toronto. We did move around a lot. I guess my parents tried to find the best schooling for us, of course, like any parent would. Best living conditions, and of course, best for my parents. My mom stayed home and took care of us, the three boys, and my dad was a house painter, so he tried to find, kind of central, greater Toronto area to work. And with that being said, we moved, we rented, actually we were renting a little north of Toronto, like I said, and we moved behind a mini mall. Now, mini malls, of course, were popular, but not as much as they are now, especially in the greater Toronto area, if you don't know. So we moved behind the mini mall and we're renting. So the neighborhood was alright. There's a lot of kids there, and new families and younger families. So I remember always my mom telling me go out and play like any kid. Well, I used to play baseball, hockey, football, the deal. So at times my mom would say, just play in the backyard or go out and play, for the reason that sometimes, you would get with the wrong crowd, like all the kids would, or tend to do, and also, some kids were older and they would teach us the wrong things. So we'd usually just play in the backyard, catch or whatever, with my brothers and friends. Well, my parents never knew this, and we found out quick, where they always say, go out and play. So in our backyard, the way it was, what was dividing the homes to the back of the mini mall was a small chain link fence. Back then, it would be around here, which would be probably head level to when I was 6, 7. And, excuse me, and, that would be big for us. Well, as the years progressed, I guess because it was rental, so they didn't really take care of it as much as they really should have, the fence was kind of bent down. So we could literally jump on the fence and it would bend, and we'd be able to go in the back, or the back part, or the back lot of the mini mall. Well, we found out early where my brothers and I, especially my older brother Mike and I, we would be, like, our backyard literally was the door of a store in the mini mall. And it turned out, fate would have it, which now all makes sense, the actual store that we literally were looking at was parallel to our point of sight when we left the backyard, was the back door of an arcade. Yes, in my backyard was literally an arcade. We would, it wasn't a big lot, so we'd literally go outside, maybe walk 30 seconds. We'd, jump over, going over the fence, and the back door would be an arcade. Yes, absolute crazy. I mean, it all makes sense now, because my brothers and I talk, and friends and I, and even tell my parents, I'm like, well, what do you expect, for us to like video games? Our backyard was an arcade. So I still remember these memories, man, where in the summer, fall, whenever the weather was decent, the back door would be open, and a lot of guys would be smoking out there. Now, mind you, this is 87, and smoking was allowed indoors, which was amazing. If you think about it, I'm like, yes, because me being a cigar smoker, I'm like, that'd be amazing. So the back door would be open. We'd walk outside. My parents never knew this. They just thought we were just playing. So we'd, hop the fence or just roll over the fence and walk into the back door of the arcade, because it wasn't displayed. It was an arcade. It was just the back. So we'd go in the back, and we found out early because we saw people outside and come out. You can hear the games and the sounds. So my brother and I was like, hey, we'd talking to the guys, like, what's in there? And they'd say it's an arcade. And we're like, what? So we went in the back door, and we started to get to know the owner, because they would now know my parents. They would know where we were, and they would see us in the back, playing. So they knew that was our house. And what would happen is we were always there. Always. It was our spot. It was our backyard. So we would walk into the back door, and then there was the arcade. And again, we got to know the owner, and you know, it was funny because that would be our retreat. So it used to be, and I still remember, we got home from school around 3:30ish or 3:30ish. My mom would make us a little something to eat, or we'd go literally walk in the front door. Hi, Mom. My dad wouldn't be home from work yet. We'd wait for him to eat. So we'd walk in, hi Mom, whatever, maybe grab a bite to eat, walk straight through the back door, and then straight to the arcade. It was like, whoop, right back in. So it was routine, man. So we would go in there. Of course, we'd play. We'd get to know everyone, local players, common players, fistful of quarters. We'd walk in, and it was cool because we'd usually spend a few hours there around 5:36 because that's when my dad came home. So we'd always be around 2.5 hours deep in the arcade as far as hours, hanging out, not even playing, just talking and watching because no one cared back then. And my mom would literally yell, because remember we're Greek, right? So we have no sense. So we would yell from, my mom would open the back door and be like, Steve, Mike, come and eat! And we would, in Greek, and we would hear it, because it was as soon as when the door was open. So we would even hear it and everybody would laugh, just saying, your mom wants you to go eat, or your parents are yelling. It was the coolest thing, man. It was like a movie. I'm like, are you kidding? That's your backyard. And we can see it because the arcade was pretty much just straight down, and they had games like the apartment. It'd be like here, 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 and then it'd be straight. So you can literally see your eyesight right straight was my parents' back door. And so yeah, my parents would always tell us to come and eat. Everybody would laugh and we'd go eat. It was the best setup, man. The best. I mean, what more can I ask for? It was always cool. Now, it came to it where the way the arcade was, if you went to the front, because also it was convenient. Because in the mini mall, which is usually like a dry cleaner's, a convenience store, like a pizza place, you know, something like that. Well, there was a convenience store, and my dad would go and tell me to go buy cigarettes for him. He used to smoke. Now, the owner, whatever he was, Korean, Chinese, or whatever, I still remember, some sort of Asian, whatever. Well, they would know it was for my dad. I never smoked. So they used to sell me the cigarettes. I'm like, it's for my dad, and they knew. I'd come in with my $5 whatever. And also, not only that, but the actual, eventually the arcade got a cigarette dispenser. Do you remember those in the 80s and 90s where you'd put money in and then you'd go like kind of like a vending machine for cigarettes, and you'd be like, and I remember my dad would say, Stevie, who's calling now? Who cares? And we'd say, hey Stevie, it's Demorier king size light. And I would always go and I'd literally put money in the machine, and then I would actually buy cigarettes for my dad if I didn't go to the actual convenience store. I don't know who's calling me. It's probably a telemarketer. It's so early, I don't know who to call. But with that being said, oh, come on. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'm sorry. It's actually a friend of mine. That makes sense. So with that being said, I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so I would actually buy cigarettes from the machine. So with that, we would buy cigarettes from the machine and bring it home. So here's where it came to be. In the front of the store, it was glass. Like, the whole thing was glass. So with that, we would, you would see, I don't remember the arcade name, and you would see the name of the arcade, and then in the glass would be obviously a glass door. Now, the reason they had a glass is because you can see in. Now, the way they had it, and I still remember this, is whatever new game came out, it said new game, and they would be pointing to whatever game so you can see through the window. And it was, I remember, Double Dragon rolled in. So when we walked in, behind the actual store's glass and the bars, you would see new game pointing, and it would say Double Dragon. And I'm like, oh, cool, what is that? And they would have the music, like I did in my last video, blasting. Especially in the summer and the spring days when they had the door open. You can really hear it, and then again, people are outside smoking, talking, and doing whatever. And, just hanging out in the parking lot. So I remember the owner was saying that, hey guys, this is a brand new game. And my older brother Mike saying, yo, this is supposed to be the new cool game. So what happened was, I remember I would be around this tall. So I'd be like this, and I'm like, oh, cool, the artwork was neat, who are these two cool guys? And it was like the game. Like people would be like, wow, look at this. You know, the music was blasting. People were lining up and I wouldn't be able to see. So my brother would kind of lift me to say, look. And it was just the game, man. I mean, the music itself was the best ever. I mean, just hearing the music and just being able to really punch people, and it was just so beautifully violent and just so cool. Like, it was the coolest thing. You're, you know, beating up guys to go save your girlfriend. And it was, I still remember it. It was always the game that people would always just be sitting there. I remember it because people would be playing and then be leaving their cigarette right here, so it'd be burning the actual CPO. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? So everybody would just watch this and just keep, you know, just checking, you know, just seeing the hype around it, and everybody would want to play it because it's not a long game. So people would pretty much put 1 quarter in, and everybody found out. Now, when you did the elbow, the elbow smash, you can pretty much finish the game just like that. So it was a 1 quarter game. People would just run through it, and you'd be waiting because people would be playing so well. And with that being said, it was, like I said, you know, a great game. You know, it didn't take that much room in the arcade, but there was lineups like crazy just waiting for it. And it was just one of these games that I have to go. See, I would have, some days I would take, you know, I would go really early, and the owner, I'd tell the owner, hey, can we come in a little early to play it? Because they'd open probably at 9 or whatever. And, you know, on weekends, I'd wake up early and I'd be banging on the door before the guy got in. So the owner was cool with us. He goes, okay, don't worry about it. And, you know, that it was just a crazy thing. We got to play, of course, early, and we would always go in the morning just to check it out. And there'd be other times where Double Dragon was just there. You know, of course, there's other games there. And it was, again, it was 87, so it was a lot of the classics. You know, Ms. Pac-Man, Frogger, you know, and then Donkey Kong, the list goes on. I remember, just really quick about the arcade, that beside the Double Dragon, a couple rows down, was a sit-down, and it was a Ghosts and Goblins. And I remember there was an amazing player, and I still remember this. He was like the guy. He was like the best player in like every game he was always at the arcade. And he would have black nail polish. I still remember, I swear to God, when I was a kid. And I'd be kind of looking over, and he'd be smoking, making a cigarette out of the mouth, just playing Ghosts and Goblins. I'm like, wow, what is this game? And he goes, it's a very hard game, which it is. It's impossible. And everybody would watch this guy play. So anytime he got up to play Double Dragon, it was like the thing, because he'd be beating the game either with 1 quarter, beating it quickly, or just hitting up the high score or something like that, or not dying, showing us tricks how to beat the bosses. And it was just amazing, man. So, I mean, that's my memories of Double Dragon. Of course, you know, that was in the arcade. So when it came to console, it was a disappointment, because we used to have all the Nintendo systems, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and whatnot. And when it came to Nintendo, we had it. I remember we were at a mall, and I was banging on the, I was telling my mom, I was crying, I want Double Dragon, because the box art is so cool, it's the NES. And I told my mom, please, I want Double Dragon, please, and I was crying, and my older brother would cry, my younger would just get him going, and they said, fine. And they would buy it for us, and we would just play it to death, but we were a little pissed off, because it wasn't the same game. And the NES one was decent, but you couldn't play co-op, number one, which is stupid, because it couldn't handle it. But it wasn't the same. The graphics weren't even close. The music wasn't the same. The overall gameplay, the levels weren't the same. I'm like, no, I want the one with the arcade. So that's why, and it was upsetting. So when Double Dragon, 2 came out, and 3, and then Super Double Dragon on Super Nintendo, which was great, and I still have it. That was good, but it wasn't the same game. It wasn't ported properly, and we were always upset saying, why? Now we understand it's a limitation based on technology. So when I think back to why Double Dragon in my collection, why the memories, how my backyard was an arcade, how my hangout was literally my backyard, and my parents couldn't say nothing. They said, go out and play. They'd be like, okay, right in the arcade. So always fun times, and as soon as I saw this, you know, I just said to myself, like I said in my pickup video, a few videos back, why Double Dragon? I had to. The memories of this game being rolled in, the new game sign, people smoking, waiting in line to play it, the music blasting so you can hear from the parking lot and the convenience store. just me buying cigarettes for my dad, which is illegal. What am I thinking? So, but no one cared because they knew it was us. It was for my dad. They knew. My parents would come in. My dad played Pac-Man a little. My mom would come and yell at us. And when we wouldn't come, I remember times where we're just sitting there playing and we wouldn't listen because either the door's closed because it's cold or we just didn't want to come. So my mom would literally like see us and walk in and just grab us by the ear and yell at us and take us and yell at the owner for not telling us to come. So it was a family affair, and you know they knew, man. They knew that, you know, that was our backyard. So and again, sometimes when I think of, you know, when I think of my past, I'm like, how cool that is, where your backyard is literally an arcade. It's almost like, you know, you being, you know, the biggest baseball fan, and your backyard's a, you know, baseball diamond, and or, you know, a football field or a hockey rink or whatever hobby you're into, that's your backyard, and it literally was. So now culminating with an arcade of my own is more than nostalgic. It's life, because that's the way it was. And again, this is just the beginning, guys. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. New videos coming out, more excitement, new things going to diversify for the channel. And this is just the beginning. This is just a holding spot for Top Tier. This is That's Why's version 1.0. Once we get a home and everything's running, this is just the embryonic stage. So whoever's following me now and watching me now, guys, it's just the beginning. And those who are watching, I thank you for that, because definitely they're going to be one of the few, well, you're going to be one of the few that subscribe, and hopefully more, that's going to just take me on this journey, and hopefully so we can get to the Top Tier, you know, version final or complete and have it all set up the way like it should be, like a real arcade. So guys, I'm looking at my cheat sheet. Everything else looks to be, everything else looks to be done. Very, you know, very nostalgic for me. It brings back warm memories. It's actually, as an update, my dad and I, my dad was painting, believe it or not, homes a little north of where the arcade was. Now, we went back and I asked my dad, what is there? Can we go back to the spot? Because I was actually going to take you guys live and show you where the arcade was. It's probably like a, you know, a McDonald's or something, or like a dry cleaners now or whatever. But they've actually tore down that whole mini mall and they built condos. So we went back to our old house, which is sick, and we see the backyard, but now they have a big wooden fence, so we can't see back. Excuse me. We went back to the home, and my dad's like, this is where it was. So, and I'm like, I can't believe that was where my backyard was an arcade, and now it's condominiums, which is such a shame, man. They're tearing it down. It sucks. But again, I remember it. I just remember playing. It was amazing. And guys, that's going to do it. So if you haven't subscribed, like I said, please do so. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, memories of your own, please leave in the comments. And that's going to do it for this video. Again, take it easy. Thanks for choosing Top Tier. Next video, it's going to be the gameplay. I'm going to be doing a walkthrough with Double Dragon, playing it, giving you some tips again that if I left out in the game review, I'm going to be walking you through it, giving you some information on Double Dragon, and let's do the gameplay. So with that being said, again, it's been a pleasure. All the best, and thanks for choosing Top Tier.